Hello and welcome to the class 2 of statistical mechanics and my 23rd class in a row in the course of physics 2. Last day actually it's a long journey we have made so far. We started from the very basic of quantum mechanics, starting from the wave nature of matter, uh, the representation in terms of mathematical function called wave function, the how to get wave function to the approach of Schrodinger, the concept of operators, that is how to interact with the wave function to get the information of motion. And with all these things we actually solved physical problem, that was electrons in a metal, electrons moving in a diode, a particle in a three-dimensional box which was replicating quantum dot problem, which we later on learned in nano introduction to nanomaterials. So many interesting things we have learned so far. And we also got a the Heisenberg approach, the operator method, the vector space technique of talking about a new type of computation called quantum computation, which is essentially application of quantum mechanics. Now we are with statistical mechanics. Everybody, as I mentioned last day also, statistics is something which you do not use for uh, any for 1, 2, 3, 4 objects. We use statistics for many objects. And statistical mechanics deals with mechanics of large number of objects. Okay, it deals with mechanics of large number of objects. So that is called the statistical mechanics. So what I have done actually, I have given a thorough tour to you how it all changes. Actually, this is you see, this is me and all these things. If I've got only one object moving, maybe a ball, a cyclist or something, then Newton is good enough to explain that. Or even two objects moving. The concept of relative speed, etc. you have, this is also good. Suppose I've got many objects moving, three objects moving. Okay, then you can also describe, because three different objects, you can describe them separately. But if you've got many, suppose I've got four balls moving in a regular manner, that you also can describe. Problem is that if you have got large number of similar objects moving, then you are in trouble. In the left hand side picture, there you have to go for the statistical approach. So this is same thing is true for microscopic world also. Suppose I have got many electrons moving together. Okay, then what to do? Okay, or many gas molecules moving together. So the left hand side is a quantum mechanical problem. Electrons moving together is a quantum mechanical problem. So that you can explain with the Schrodinger idea, but that is a single electron case. Now I am talking about many electrons moving randomly inside a metal. Then how do you describe that situation? For that purpose, it's a mechanics problem, but it will be mechanics of many objects. Or I have to be statistical when you describe so many electrons problem. How many Schrodinger's equation you will solve if you have got crores of electrons moving? So your technique has to be different. So it should take care of the many particle issue. For electrons, we will be having some technique, and for the particles moving in a container, we are having some other technique. In general, statistical mechanics for gas molecules, it is the Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics we use. For uh, particles moving in a container, we use the both Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics. And for the electron, proton, neutron, etc., which are essentially quantum mechanical object, we use the quantum mechanical statistics. Now for electron, proton, the statistics is called Fermi-Dirac statistics. For photon, phonon, we call it Bose-Einstein statistics. Okay, so this is the concept. So how it actually came up, how all these ideas came up that I was talking about. You see, for gas molecules moving in a container, you have to use the Maxwell-Boltzmann idea. It's a classical idea. Now, it is thought that these are large gas molecules. They are moving randomly. So, just like we use kinetic theory of the gas, that is based on some Maxwell's velocity distribution law. So that idea will be utilized here. Now here you do not consider you consider particles or the gas molecules like the balls. They are making inelastic scattering. That means they are colliding with each other. Collision is a mechanical interaction. So you do not consider any other force process apart from mechanical interaction, and the concept of spin, etc., all absent. And obviously Pauli's exclusion principle never applied. On the contrary, when you move into the electronic or photonic picture, the quantum mechanical picture, this concept of spin comes into business. You know, by this time, spin is a fundamental property or intrinsic property of the matter, which is associated with the, it is an intrinsic property of the matter, okay? It is related to the orbital and spin motion of the electron. If electron is a charged particle, because of its motion, magnetic field will be there. Depending on the orientation of the electron, two types of magnetic field may be there. Okay, either magnetic field vector will be up or direction will be up or down. Depending on that, we say up spin or down spin. And every electron is like a small magnet. Its magnetic moment is one Bohr magneton. Okay, just like that with this. So spin may be up, down, and intermediate states are also applied. All are known. Now, when you are talking about electrons, electrons in a metal are large in number, or in a, so basically for them, the when you apply statistically, electrons are all similar, so they are identical, and you cannot differentiate one electron with other indistinguishable particle. Electron obeys Pauli's exclusion principle. Electron have got some spin, odd half or odd half integral spin. So, but these are they obey statistics. There is a statistics of Fermi and Dirac, Fermi-Dirac statistics. Now, Bose-Einstein statistics, on the contrary, is the other statistics, quantum statistics, which is used for the particles whose spin is 0 or 1, like photon, phonon, etc. Alpha particle. These are the particles for which we use Bose-Einstein statistics. Here again, all photons look similar, so they are identical and indistinguishable, but their spins are 0 or 1. Another point is that these particles obey the idea of they obey Pauli's exclusion principle again. Okay, sorry, they do not obey Pauli's exclusion principle. Now, after this, actually, the concept of phase space come in. Phase space is a space which is made of space and time, space coordinate and the momentum coordinate, where a point means two things. It gives the information of position and momentum together. That is, somebody moving with in space, that gives information is given. Okay. And another concept I have given in the last class, that is a concept of macrostate and microstate. Macrostate means macroscopic description of a system. That is, when you describe molecules of the gas having some in a container, they are occupying a volume V. Temperature of the container means T. Energy in general is E. Pressure is this one. These are all describing all the gas molecules together. This is called the macroscopic description. On the contrary, if I describe individual particle, then it's called microscopic description. What is the energy of individual particle? In which direction individual particle moving? What is the velocity of individual particle? That is the microscopic description of the system. So microscopic descriptions are called microstate. Macroscopic descriptions are called macrostates. I have given some beautiful examples. You see, suppose you want to keep two particles in two energy levels. If they are Maxwellian particles are all classical objects, you can see them, or even if you cannot see, suppose gas molecules in a container, they are identical and indistinguishable. So you can separate them out, and the concept of how many particles will be in one energy state, that's predicted by Pauli. It is not valid in Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics or Bose-Einstein statistics. So you can keep both the particles in the first energy, top energy level, or in the bottom energy level. Also, you can keep one particle in one energy level. So 4 combinations are there. So these are called 4 macrostates. But macrostates are 2. What is a macrostate? That means 2 particles in one energy level is one macrostate, and 1 particle in one energy level, each energy level is another macrostate. Similarly, if I use Bose-Einstein statistics, here particles are all similar and indistinguishable. So all are red balls, you see. So 3 possibilities are there. Bosons, there is no Pauli's exclusion principle. So number of particles in energy level may be any number. So as you can see there, it can be occupying any number. Okay, you see there that 3 cases are there. So microstate are 3, and macrostate are again 2. 1 particle in one energy level and 2 particles in energy level. And for the Fermi-Dirac statistics, which electrons do obey, okay, you can see there is only one option, that is in every energy level 1 particle. So 1 macrostate, 1 microstate. Similarly, you can extend your discussion for 3 particle case, and general formulas are there. There is factorial of the number of particles. Gi means number of energy states to the power ni by ni factorial. 2 is the number of particles. I want to keep it in 3 energy states. 2 factorial 3 3 square by 2 factorial. You see, it will be You see there is a total number of microstates. As you can see here also, 6 microstates will be, 9 microstates will be there. Okay, you can see, and 6 macrostates will be there. Okay, 6 means 2 energy particles in each energy level, either in A, B, or C. Okay, and microstates also you can see. Okay, that is A and B. They are distinguishable particle if they obey Maxwellian idea. A and B, A in energy state 1, B in energy state 2 are opposite. Similarly, 2 and 3 also you can do the same thing. A in energy state 2, 3 in energy state 3. B 3 B 1 in B in energy state 2, A in energy state 3. Similarly, we can do between 1 and 3. So 6 options are there. That is how when you keep one particle in one energy level, and 3 options are there when you keep 3 particles in one energy level. Okay, 2 particles in one energy level. Now, when the same thing happens to Maxwellian idea by Bose-Einstein way, the particles are all identical. So basically, those combination that when you are keeping AB and BA alteration, which is giving different microstate, that is not going to give. So number of microstate will fall down to 6, and macrostate will become 2 now. Okay. So basically, you see, it was all at same. Earlier KB was there, all at same, all are A. Another option is that you please see if the formula is there also, Ni plus Gi minus 1 factorial by Ni factorial Gi minus 1 factorial, so it is becoming 6. So you can use by in examination, you can either use formula, or if you cannot remember, you can use in a way I am doing it here. And for Fermi-Dirac statistics, that those 2 particles in single energy level option will be over, because of Pauli's exclusion principle, there will be one particle in one energy state. So only these 3 microstates will be there, and macrostate is one particle in one energy state. So now, suppose so far we have been talking about 2 particles in 2 energy state, 2 particle in 3 energy state. Suppose I want to keep, suppose 2 particle in 2 energy state, 3 particle in 3 states, now 4 particle in 4 states. So this is a in Fermi-Dirac way, you are keeping each one particle in each energy level. You see 3 particles in 3 energy level, 1 particle in 1 energy level. Electrons are all identical, and electrons obey Pauli's exclusion principle. So 1 particle in 1 energy state, that is over here. And this is 4 particles in 4 energy states. So as now what I am doing, I am increasing the number of particles in an energy state. Suppose I want to keep 20 particles in 20 energy states. How do I do it? I can do this. Okay. 20 particles in 20 energy states. Okay, 20 electrons I am keeping. These are electrons. Okay. 20 electrons in 20 energy states. I can see in terms of balls also, or you can have written also. So this is how they will be occupying. Now what I am doing, if you look back, I'm slowly moving from 2 energy particle, 2 electron, 2 energy state, 3 electron, 3 energy. Very simple. 1 electron in 1 energy state, 4 electron, 4 energy states. Now 20 per electron in 20 energy states. So every energy state will be occupied by 1 electron. So now suppose I have got in general n number of energy states, or in a crystal infinite number of energy states are there theoretically. So how that will be occupied by the formula, you cannot keep on drawing it. Okay, you can go up to 2, 3, 4, 20, 100 like that, and you know the formula. In one energy state there will be one occupancy. But if I have got infinite energy state, will it be like suppose in infinite energy level there will be 1 electron, infinite electron? It is not the story. Okay, then energy could, okay, it is not practical. Okay, it is violating all the laws of nature. So basically, there is how many electrons should be occupying and how electrons should be occupying, and the energy level, that idea you are getting. Okay, if you do not use electron spin concept, you can see by Pauli's principle, electrons are occupying 1 electron in 1 energy level, that is happening. When spin concept will come in, we will see 2 electrons will be with opposite spin will be in each energy level, that concept will come in. But if I have got say arbitrary number of, suppose I have got 10,000 energy levels, how I will keep 20,000 electrons there, or I will keep 6,000 electrons there. So normal natural law, electrons will first occupy lower energy levels. So how they will be distributing this in those 10,000 energy level? It is a story, because you have to learn it. You cannot keep on putting them in individual energy level. So you need a formula for that, and that formula was given by Fermi and Dirac, popularly known as the Fermi-Dirac distribution law. Now Fermi-Dirac distribution function is given by that formula. One by, it has been deduced by them. I am only sharing because deduction is not in your course. 1 by 1 plus exponential E minus EF by KT plus 1. E means energy, and K means Boltzmann constant, T is the temperature, so it depends on temperature. EF is called Fermi energy level, and 1 is a number, okay. And so it all mainly depends on temperature. You can see how at with temperature energy the electron occupancy will change. That is the point of discussion. Now this is the way it's the temperature variation is coming. That is how at absolute zero energy levels will be occupied in one way. At a higher temperature it will be occupied in another way. So let me do it by hand, okay, so that you realize it can, a little bit of calculation is involved. This is the Fermi-Dirac distribution function, which is given by 1 plus exponential E minus EF by KT. So I want to show you the temperature dependence. First, we consider what is happening at absolute zero. So these are various energy levels. So how these various energy levels will be occupied at absolute zero? So that is I wish to tell you. Okay. So now at absolute zero, it might happen. The energy levels, say suppose this is some energy level EF. So there may be some energy level less than the Fermi energy level, or this energy level I want to calculate that may be greater than the Fermi energy level. So whether this will be occupied, because this is giving me the distribution function, the probability of occupancy of energy level, whether it is occupied or not, whether this is also occupied or not. So that is something we are trying to know. So to do that, let us do a bit of mathematics. If you look at the mathematics, this is a distribution function 1 by 1 plus exponential E minus EF by KT. Now we are working at t equal to 0. So at E less than EF, what would happen? If you do the calculation, it is 1 by 1 plus exponential E minus EF by K into 0. Now E less than EF means your calculation is this much, 1 plus something negative by 0. I may call it 1 by 1 plus e to the power minus infinity, and e to the power minus infinity means this term is going towards 0. So the distribution function is that occupancy is equal to 1. So if these are the energy levels, and if this is the Fermi energy level EF, that means all energy levels below the Fermi energy levels are occupied. Okay. Now let me consider another case. Suppose T is equal to 0. Again, this is the Fermi-Dirac distribution function. So this is giving you the probability of occupancy at T equal to 0. Now I am working at E is equal to EF. If you E is equal to EF, So it is equal to F is equal to 1 by 1 plus exponential 0 by 0. We see 1 by basically e to the power infinity. So something by infinity means it goes to 0. So that means again these are my energy levels plotted in this direction. It shows there if this is the Fermi energy level, suppose this is the Fermi energy level, the occupancy at the Fermi energy level is basically 0. So all the electrons are present below the Fermi energy level at absolute 0. Okay. Now let me go check what is happening at t greater than 0. Okay. Let me check what is happening at t greater than 0. At t greater than 0, again this is distribution function. At e greater than ef, sorry, 1 by 1 plus exponential. So again I want to check the occupancy at absolute 0. Suppose I am now working at energy greater than Fermi energy. So E minus EF is a positive quantity. So if we calculate the distribution function 1 by exponential, E minus EF is positive by 0. So 1 by 1 plus infinity, so this goes to 0. So that means if these are your energy levels, and if this is your Fermi energy level, so these are the energy levels. I have plotted energy in this direction. Okay, like this. And you see electrons are occupying this energy level. All the energy level below Fermi energy level are occupied. Distribution function is 1. At the Fermi level, distribution function is 0. And above Fermi level also, here also, no electrons are there. Distribution function is 0. So all the electrons are below the Fermi level. So Fermi level is the energy level below which or up to which electrons are present. In general, if I draw the diagram, suppose I wish to plot, so what you notice, this is your distribution function 1 by 1 plus exponential E minus EF by KT at t equal to 0, at E is equal to EF, distribution function is 0, E greater than EF, distribution function is also 0, E less than EF, distribution function is 1. So if I plot it in a graph with energy in this direction, distribution function in this direction. So if this is Fermi energy level at E is equal to F, the occupancy is 1. Okay, this distribution, this occupancy is 1 here. It is 1. Here it is 0 and here also 0. So all the energy levels below these are occupied and this is unoccupied. Now let us see what happens at t greater than 0. At t greater than 0, what would happen? This is your distribution function 1 by 1 plus exponentially minus EF by KT. You can see again, if these are your energy levels, If you plot them in this direction, okay. Now we want to know if this is the Fermi energy level. Now we are working at greater than zero. Whether you are here, you are here, or you are at the Fermi level, that is the issue. Now at the Fermi level, you see it will be equal to 1 by 1 plus exponential 0 by kt. Now t is non-zero, it is greater than 0. So this is 1 by 1 plus e to the power 0 means 1 by 2. So distribution function is half at the Fermi level. So at the Fermi level, you see its distribution function is, it is now occupied. Probability of occupancy is 50%. Okay, Fe is half, 50% probability. Okay, of occupancy. So if you now, okay, on the contrary, if you look at, if you focus for E less than F, these are the various energy levels, and this is the Fermi level. We know at t equal to 0, t greater than 0, your distribution function has become 1. Now if I work E at E less than F, distribution function will become 1 by 1 plus exponential. Now E less than F means this is negative, and this is also non-zero. So this will be an e to the power exponential negative function. So it will talk about an exponential reduction, okay, exponential fall. So occupancy will be there. Okay, occupancy will now fall. Okay, exponentially it will fall. If exponential the function will is falling with energy, the probability of occupancy will be falling. Okay, and it might become half here like that. So occupancy will be there, but chance is half. Now if you work, okay, like that. Now interestingly, if you work at E greater than here, so again these are your energy levels. This is the Fermi level. Here it is 1. Here Fe is exponentially decreasing, and here we are now working at E greater than F. So again, if you look here at E greater than F, it is exponentially, this is a positive quantity. Okay, this is non-zero plus 1. So it is exponentially decreasing, negative quantity. So it is also talking about some exponential decrease. Okay, so again also this is exponentially decreasing. So that means if I plot the function, it will be like this much. If I plot the function, you see this is the distribution function plotted against energy. Now, what is the prediction at t equal to 0? The occupancy at Fe is 0. Energy below EF occupancy was 1. Energy above EF occupancy was 0. So this was the plot. If this is the Fermi energy level, so it was something like this much. Okay, here it was 1. Here it is 0. Here it is 0. Now we are working at t greater than 0. At E is equal to EF, the occupancy is half. Here it is half. E greater than EF, the occupancy is exponentially decreasing. E less than EF also, it is exponentially decreasing. So the plot will be like this much. So the idea is that distribution function is non-zero, positive at t greater than 0. So some energy states above these are getting occupied. This is a very important concept. So with this in mind, let me get back to the PowerPoint a bit. Okay, so this is the plot. As I mentioned, you can see temperature, how it varies also, how the slope of the graph changes. More temperature means more probability of occupancy. So now side by side, if we compare three statistics, that is the formula of Maxwell, Boltzmann, Bose-Einstein, and Fermi-Dirac statistics, we will only, there is exponential dependence in the case of Boltzmann statistics, and in Bose-Einstein is also shown there, and Fermi-Dirac is something I just discussed. Is your syllabus also demand discussion of the Fermi-Dirac statistics. The main difference is that in Boltzmann statistics, is Maxwell-Boltzmann is a classical statistics where particles are all identical. All are gas molecules, so distinguishable. Bose-Einstein's all are photons, so identical, and you cannot differentiate them. Indistinguishable. Fermi-Dirac electron, proton, neutron, they are indistinguishable. Okay, and identical. Spin does not come up in the case of Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics. The concept of spin is there in both quantum statistics, Fermi-Dirac and Bose-Einstein. Electrons have got half or odd half integral spin. Electron, proton, neutron, these are called fermions. Okay, they obey Fermi-Dirac statistics, and bosons are having zero or integral multiple spin. So they are like photon, phonon, like that. Okay, yes. So the Pauli's exclusion principle is only valid for the electronic case, not for the photon, for Fermi-Dirac case, not for the Bose-Einstein or Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics. Okay, and these are the basic difference. Okay, and nature of the overlap wave function is symmetric and antisymmetric. That concept is there. Okay, okay, that concept is there. So I'm not highlighting and focusing on that. So these are the main differences. But now we have to apply this idea in actual system in metal, insulator, and semiconductor. So I shall discuss that in the next lecture, and I will also come up with the idea of density of states, because that is something that tells us that whether for a given energy, there may be more than one energy state according to the regeneracy concept of quantum mechanics. So whether they are occupied or not, okay, because Fermi energy concept has still told us that how the energy levels can be occupied. So the density of states is a mark or is a signature about electron occupancy, and that actually study of that also determines the conducting state of a metal, insulator, semiconductor. Semiconductor may be intrinsic, extrinsic, etc. We'll focus on that in the next lecture. Thank you for the time being.